all day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich suckers who don't give a about them. They don't give a about you. They don't give a about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. At all. Yeah. You know? And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on. The fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue that's being jammed up their assholes every day. Because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Once again, Carlin's got it right, and we keep saying this on this show, and we'll continue playing that George Carlin clip as long as it is necessary to do so. And while we're talking about a free press that's being assailed by Donald Trump, by the Republicans, truthfully, by centrist Democrats, who you might as well call Republicans. I've got this. This is dated December 11th. Our friends at Democracy Now! Posted this. Former New York mayor and 2020 presidential candidate Michael Bloomberg spoke at the United Nations Climate Summit Tuesday, saying he came to the climate talks because no one from the White House was there. The event was billed as a media opportunity, but Bloomberg refused to answer questions from the press. Bloomberg entered the presidential race in November and has since spent tens of millions of dollars of his own money on the race. Democracy Now! Host Amy Goodman followed Bloomberg through the conference venue, asking how he would address issues of inequality and whether his strategy to win the presidency was to outspend all his rivals. Bloomberg refused to answer all questions, and Kevin Sheekey, Bloomberg's presidential campaign manager, claimed the billionaire was not there as a candidate. Well, then what's he doing there? He's not there as a private citizen. Sorry, when you start running for president or any office, your rights as a private citizen go bye-bye. They go bye-bye for good until you're done running or until after your elected term out of office. Sorry, you are a public official when you start running. And by public, that means you're open to the big spotlight being shined down on you by the press. If you don't like it, don't run. Now I want to get to this. This is another instance of the press being fought against. This comes from Inside Radio, which is a trade publication on the radio industry that's owned by Tegna, who is the parent company of local television station WZZM. So I want to get that out of the way before I begin. This is from December 12th. Entercom News Radio 1060 KYW Philadelphia is reporting that Philadelphia District Attorney's Office did not allow the station's crime and justice reporter Kristen Johansson to enter a news conference open to other media outlets Wednesday afternoon. The press conference was scheduled to provide new information in the case of an 18-year-old who was accused of shooting his twin earlier this month. The charges against him were dropped earlier Wednesday morning. During the conference itself, Jeff Cole, a reporter for local television station WTXF Fox 29, asked District Attorney Larry Krasner about the barring of Johansson. Cole asked this, quote, "Did you bar Kristen Johansson from KYW Radio from coming to this press conference, and why?" End of quote. Krasner replied, quote, "What I can tell you is I did not bar anybody from coming to a conference. We always enjoy having Kristen Johansson here, and if there's been some kind of miscommunication, then I'm sorry to hear that has occurred." End of quote. However, Johansson insists that upon arriving at the district attorney's office, she showed her press pass to security, wrote her name down on the media list, and was then told that she was not allowed to go up to the news conference. Spokesperson for the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office, Jane Rowe, said in an email to KYW that only reporters who requested comment on the case were notified of the press conference. Quote, We brought them in at the same time for efficiency, end of quote. Rowe also cited security protocol for the reason Johansson was denied. Julie Shaw, a reporter for the Philadelphia Inquirer, told KYW she did not request comment about the story, but also was not invited to the press conference. KYW program director Alex Silverman said, quote, a press conference open to some members of the media should be open to all. To deny access to a reporter who covers the crime and justice beat in our city raises serious questions about how the district attorney's office views a free and fair press. End of quote. And you know what? He's right. He is absolutely right about that. When you've got politicians like Donald Trump refusing to allow certain media sources in, you're violating constitutional rights. The rights of a free press are guaranteed by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. You remember that document we recently talked about where very few people can name what the First Amendment protects? Very few people that can tell you how many amendments are in the Bill of Rights. You folks need to start studying the Constitution. Not the Constitution that Trump tells you about, the one that was wrote by the founding fathers of this country. You better do it, and you better do it now. And I want to finish up today's show with some good news. This is by NBC. This is the Associated Press wrote this article. The University of Phoenix and its parent company have agreed to pay $50 million in cash and cancel $141 million in student debt to settle allegations of deceptive advertisement brought by the Federal Trade Commission. The deal, announced Tuesday, settles a dispute over an ad campaign the for-profit college launched in 2012, touting partnerships with companies including Microsoft, Twitter, and Adobe. It suggested the school worked with those companies to create job opportunities for students, even though there was no such agreement, investigators found. The Federal Trade Commission said the settlement is the largest the agency has ever obtained against a for-profit college. Andrew Smith, director of the Federal Trade Commission's Bureau of Consumer Protection, said, quote, students making important decisions about their education need the facts, not fantasy job opportunities that do not exist, end of quote. The University of Phoenix said in a statement that much of the dispute focused on a single ad campaign that ran from 2012 to 2014. It said it agreed to the deal, quote, to avoid any further distraction from serving students. The campaign occurred under prior ownership and concluded before the FTC's inquiry began. We continue to believe the university acted appropriately, end of quote. Apollo Education Group owns the University of Phoenix. The Arizona-based for-profit college chain has 55 campuses across the nation and teaches thousands of students through its online programs. It's the nation's largest recipient of GI Bill tuition benefits for military veterans. Under the settlement, the University of Phoenix and Apollo will cancel all remaining debt for students who first enrolled between October 1st, 2012 and the end of 2016. Letters will be sent to borrowers saying they no longer owe payments to the school. The school is also barred from making false claims about its relationships with companies or employers. The FTC says the $50 million payment will be used to help consumers who were misled by the ads. According to the FTC's complaint, the University of Phoenix created the 2012 ad campaign to distinguish itself from competitors as the chain's enrollment was falling. After conducting market research, investigators found the chain adopted an ad strategy tying the school to successful career outcomes. The campaign was called Let's Get to Work. In one TV ad that aired in 2012, a frustrated driver weaves through a crowded parking lot looking for a space. As the narrator notes that the University of Phoenix works with companies to create options for you, cars are suddenly lifted out of parking spaces and replaced with logos for companies including Microsoft and the American Red Cross. Other TV, radio, and internet ads boasted of similar ties with corporate partners including AT&T, Hitachi, and Avis. In one 2013 radio ad, the University of Phoenix said companies including AT&T and Adobe were, quote, helping us shape our curriculum to make sure today's classes help prepare you to pursue tomorrow's jobs, end of quote. Investigators said that wasn't true. Instead, many of the companies touted as corporate partners were actually part of the University of Phoenix's Workforce Solutions program that provided discounted tuition to their employees in exchange for the company's help promoting the school. Some companies that were asked to participate in the ads raised objections about the way they were being portrayed, investigators found. When approached to be part of the parking lot ad, for example, Staples officials said it falsely made it sound like they were helping guide the students' curriculum. The company ultimately did not participate. Even some senior officials at the University of Phoenix took issue with the ads. In 2012, a senior vice president complained to the chief marketing officer that using Adobe in the parking lot ad was smoke and mirrors, investigators found. The vice president wrote, quote, they are not a partner. We may do business with them, but nothing academically, end of quote. The settlement was applauded by some educated advocacy groups, including Veterans Education Success, which works to help military veterans. Carrie Wofford, the group's president, thanked the FTC for its work. She said, quote, the FTC's findings should shock every patriotic American. Enough is enough. It's time to stop the fleecing of America's veterans and service members by predatory colleges. End of quote. And I have to agree with her there. And thankfully, the FTC stepped in and put an end to this. Now, let's go after the remainder of the $1.5 trillion in student debt that's outstanding, that's still there, that students are still paying on. Matter of fact, I've seen this meme around Facebook. Several years ago, this person attended college and racked up $70,000 worth of student loan debt. They've paid $60,000 on it over the years, and they still owe $70,000. How the hell does that work in this country? It works for the banks. It works for big industry. It works for the people with all the money, but it doesn't work for the people that are trying to struggle or that are struggling to make it. The ones that have to decide whether to keep the lights on, the rent paid, or food on the table. These companies need to be broken up for good. And with that, that's going to wrap things up for this edition of Southpaws. I'm hoping that Jack Prince will be back next week. In the meantime, I'm Darren Gibson, and for our announcer, Kristen Cook, please support independent media and the First Amendment.
The stations that carry Southpaws do not necessarily share the opinions expressed on the show. Southpaws is protected by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and is copyrighted by Big D Entertainment, all rights reserved.